happened to William and Stanley on their way to college.
At what point did you shoot the clerk?
They got framed for murder.
Whoa! Wait a minute!
Now, two kids from New York are in deep trouble.
It's time to make your phone calls.
The Clans here, they're inbred. They sleep with their sisters.
In the deep South.
Some of them do.
And only one man can save them.
We need to call an attorney, a great attorney.
He's not your typical hero.
We got an attorney in the family. Great, who?
He's
my cousin Vinny. You stick out like a sore thumb around here.
Oh, yeah, you Glen.
You graduated from law school 6 years ago. What have you been doing since? Studying for the bar. That's a lot of studying. What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure. I just actually never seen a grit before.
It's his first case.
Now, didn't I tell you to dress appropriately?
You were serious about that?
The way you handled that judge, oh, you're a smooth talker, you are.
It's their last chance.
The two youths.
Did you say utes?
Yeah, two youths.
What is a ute?
But with Vinny's style,
I wore this ridiculous thing for you.
And Vinny's girlfriend.
We agreed to get married as soon as you won your first case. My biological clock is ticking like this, and the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married.
They're dead meat.
May I have permission to treat Ms. Vito as a hostile witness?
You think I'm hostile? Now wait till you see me tonight.
Joe Pesci is my cousin Vinny.
You two know each other?
Yeah, she's my fiancée.
Well, that certainly explains the hostility.
This is one of those movies where really you don't really need to say a whole lot about it because honestly, My Cousin Vinny is a classic comedy, plain and simple. And it works largely because of the people that are involved in the cast. You have Joe Pesci, who's given honestly one of his best comedic performances ever in this role. You have a great veteran actor in Fred Gwynne. You also playing the judge, who's also really funny in this. This is actually his last film that he was in before he passed away. Bruce McGill is also in here. You also have Ralph Macchio and Mitchell Whitfield playing the two kids who get arrested and are facing the court. And then there's also Marissa Tomei in a performance that was so good that she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in the following year, which was really rare for the Academy Awards to acknowledge a great comedy like this. Because usually, one of the biggest problems with the Academy Awards, even back then, was that they really didn't put the focus on the comedies and more just the dramas, mostly the Oscar bait dramas. But every once in a while, they acknowledge the comedies that did have some good performances in them. Recent ones have included such films as Melissa McCarthy, who got nominated for Bridesmaids. Trying to think of who else. One of the notable ones, Tootsie, was one of the biggest ones, honestly. They got a lot of Oscar nominations when that movie came out. Robert Downey Jr., who got nominated for Tropic Thunder, and so many other ones too. But nowadays, even nowadays, that's rare and for them to actually acknowledge that a comedy has an Oscar-worthy performance, let alone one that wins an Academy Award. But really, when you watch the film, Marissa Tomei is really good. She's not only really funny, but she really gives the best performance of the actresses that were nominated that year, honestly. And it's a very funny movie and a pretty straightforward, accurate depiction of how these lawyers do their job. It's an accurate depiction of how the courtroom system works, and that was one of the biggest surprises about it, is how authentic it really felt. It's a really funny film, a really smart film. I really don't have much more to say about this one. My Cousin Vinny, fantastic film. If you haven't seen it already, do yourself a favor and watch it, man.
From director Robert Altman comes a story of Hollywood.
I got a writer in here who's got a pitch I think you ought to hear. I think it's hot.
We open outside San Quentin.
The Graduate, Part 2. And Mrs. Robinson had a stroke, so she can't talk.
It's gonna be funny?
Yeah, it'll be funny.
Griffin Mill is a hotshot studio executive.
Yes! Angelica, Griffin Mill.
Oh, hi.
Good to see you. Malcolm McDowell.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Bird.
Good to see you.
How you doing?
He's heard every pitch.
Yes, exactly right. It's Out of Africa meets Pretty Woman.
He knows all the angles.
We're going to have a little sex in this.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. We'll get it.
Slowly pushes her panties down to her knees.
And all the players.
Where are the stars?
No stars.
No stars?
Bruce Willis.
I want Bruce Willis. Not Bruce Willis, no Schwarzenegger.
Julia Roberts. Now, he's about to star.
How did this get here?
They're coming from a writer.
Hello, is David Kane there, please? This is Griffin Mill.
Who's the dead man?
In his most unforgettable story yet.
Stop all the postcards. I don't like postcards. I like postcards.
This is a tough story, a tragedy.
Not unlike Ghost meets Manchurian Candidate.
The trouble is,
Something you have to know. If you went to Pasadena with intent to kill, you could go to the gas chamber.
it's not a movie.
I'd like you to come down to the station. I would hate to get the wrong person arrested.
Oh, please. This is Pasadena. We do not arrest the wrong person. That's L.A.
It's his life.
Are you seeing someone else? Oh, you took her to a party, Griffin, with several hundred of my best friends.
Do places like this really exist?
Only in movies.
Robert Altman's The Player.
Can we talk about something other than Hollywood for a change?
Yes.
We're educated people.
Yeah, this is probably the best new movie that came out this weekend. I would say best overall, but the next movie we're going to be talking about is one of my favorite movies of all time, but we'll get to that when we get to that one. But yeah, of all the new releases, this is really the best new one that came out this weekend. This was a really great film, and really, for Robert Altman, it's one of his best modern-day films, because this was kind of the movie that kind of relaunched his career, as he had kind of a number of films that didn't make a ton of money in the 70s and 80s, and he kind of fell out of the system a little bit. But this was the first movie he did in a long time where he really rejuvenated his career, and you could definitely see why. This is a wonderfully made movie. Tim Robbins is great in this film. You also have a ton of great people in this cast. Greta Scacchi's in here, Fred Ward, Whoopi Goldberg, Peter Gallagher, Brian James, Cynthia Stevenson, Vincent D'Onofrio, Dean Stockwell, Richard E. Grant, Sidney Pollack, Lyle Lovett, Gina Gershon. A lot of celebrity cameos in here. Jeremy Piven, Scott Glenn, Bruce Willis, Julia Roberts. You saw in the trailer that Cher's in this. Burt Reynolds. They got a ton of celebrities to be in this movie, and it's just a great, great film overall. I mean, right from the beginning, the opening scene of the movie just takes your breath away, because it's a long scene. It's almost 8 minutes with no edits whatsoever, and and they had to do this 15 times to get this right, and everything had to be done in that one singular shot. And according to what I found on Wikipedia, it actually was the 10th take that's used in the final edit. And I hate to be the editor that had to look at all these different takes and find the best one out of all these different versions that they did. I mean, it's a real tough task to do, and it pays off because it's a really good, effective scene. The movie is just a ton of fun. The movie is just very well written. It's creatively brilliantly written. Some great scenery, a great cast overall, a great mystery overall. It's a wonderfully made film. It's a fantastic film that works on so many levels. It's one of my favorite movies that came out that year. Can't recommend this movie enough. The Player.
I'd like to lead you all in a little prayer. Dear Lord, may our feet be swift, may our bats be mighty, may our balls be plentiful. And Lord, I'd just like to thank you for that waitress in South Bend. You know who she is. She kept calling your name.
This summer, Tom Hanks is managing the impossible, the Rockford Peaches.
Who says girls can't play baseball? Who says women can't throw?
Slide! Slide! Thank you!
Give them a league of their own to play. Then stand back and get out of their way.
That sounded good.
So let's all root for the girls' team. Let's give the poor coach a break.
Still missing the cutoff man. Now, that's something that I would like you to work on before next season.
'Cause it's Flash, Flash, we're having a bash at the old baseball game. Got him!
Columbia Pictures would like to take you out to the ball game for an all-star comedy.
They'll pay you $75 a week.
We only make 30 at the dairy.
Well then, this would be more, wouldn't it?
The manager, Tom Hanks.
Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
The catcher, Gina Davis.
Well, you see, we slip in the back seat and you make a man out of me.
We'll just have to smack you around for a while.
Can't we do both?
The pitcher, Lori Petty.
I made it. I'm a peach. A Rockford peach.
The scout, John Lovitz.
Are you coming? See how it works is, the train moves, not the station.
And batting cleanup, Madonna.
What if my uniform bursts open and oops, my bosoms come flying out?
You think there are men in this country who ain't seen your bosoms?
A league of their own.
All right. God knows we have a game. It's not like any of this helps, believe me.
Directed by Penny Marshall.
So not only do you have Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna, Lori Petty, this was a big breakout film for Rosie O'Donnell, even though she'd been around before then in other movies. This was the first movie that really got her name out there. You also have John Lovitz in there, David Strathairn is in this, Gary Marshall, Bill Pullman. The writers of this, Laurel Gans and Babalu Mandel, are the same guys that wrote City Slickers and a lot of Billy Crystal's movies. Like I said before, Penny Marshall directed this movie, and really, it is a great movie. It's a great film. It's a very fun piece of entertainment. Tom Hanks, in particular, is hilarious as Jimmy Dugan. He's amazing in this, and he's got to work with all these actresses. And he keeps up with them a lot, because the women really do steal the show in here. Gina Davis is always going to give a good performance, and Madonna here is very funny at times. Lori Petty also has a good role here. Rosie O'Donnell, like I said, was her big breakout role that really got her name out there. I mean, it's a good cast that they have here, and they have a really good script to work with, and a fun concept to work with as well. And it definitely shows on screen. It's very funny. It's very much a crowd-pleasing movie. And it's just a ton of fun all around. It has great memorable lines to it, great bits of comedy, great bits of drama, great bits of entertainment all around. And it's just a very fun movie all around. It's just a movie that really, when you watch it, you just can't help but really find yourself just falling in love with it every time you watch it. Like, it's a movie that every time it comes on, you just got to stop what you're doing and just watch it. It's just an enjoyable comedy all the way through. It's a movie that still holds up to this very day. And it was a huge success. It spawned not only one show that's currently on Amazon Video at the time of this recording on October 3rd, 2022, but even after the movie came out, not even a year after the movie came out, CBS already had a series in development, and they put it on the air. And not surprisingly, it didn't last very long. It only had 6 episodes, but only 5 of them made it to air before they eventually pulled the plug on it, because kind of like what they would do with other shows like this. Most notably of recent memory, My Big Fat Greek Wedding had a series that was on CBS not too long after the movie came out, My Big Fat Greek Life, which didn't even last a full season. It was like the movie had been out in theaters all summer, and the show was on TV within like the following spring. And like I said, it didn't do very well, and the CBS show didn't do very well, but the Amazon show has gotten some good reviews. I actually don't know if it got another season. I'm looking at the page right now for it, and I don't think it did. I don't think it has yet, but I mean, it could get. I mean, it's still too early on. I think Amazon usually waits a couple of months to see what the viewer output is. So who knows? Maybe it'll get another season. But I haven't seen it yet, so I have to check it out at some point. But as far as the original movie goes, it's a classic film on so many levels. Just a great, fun piece of entertainment. I love it a lot. A League of Their Own.
America is a mess. We need someone to clean it up. And his name is Bob. Bob Roberts, millionaire businessman, fencing enthusiast, recording artist, and senatorial candidate.
Here was a man that not only had a brilliant mind and a wonderful wit, but could also sing. This land is my land.
Bob has a great vision for the future of our country, and a great vision for the future of the children of our country.
Hey, mister, can I see your gun? He's amazing. He's a poet and a genius.
Ladies and gentlemen, why can't you get ahead?
She's a beautiful girl.
Why can't you have the home of your dreams?
This 3 Mile Island.
Wall Street Rap. Michael picks a loan from a Midwestern.
The 60s are over, said Roberts.
I couldn't agree more, Tana.
I'm sorry, but I wouldn't vote for you. My life depended on it.
Are you a communist?
Excuse me?
Paramount Pictures presents with Miramax Films, Bob Roberts, a man with a solution.
Choice to be what you want to be. And I want to be rich.
That's what politics is really about.
Make your judgments as you must.
Bob Roberts. Because Bob spelled backwards is still Bob.
I just wish there was a way I could vote for you 100 times.
Oh, there is, actually.
Really?
Yes. Just kidding.
So I don't think anybody really knows this, but this is actually based off of a sketch that was done on Saturday Night Live. It was a one-time sketch that Tim Robbins did when he hosted SNL back in December of '86. So 6 years before this movie came out, he did a character on there, and I guess he found something to work with it and decided to make a movie out of it. He also directed this movie. There's also Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad. Alan Rickman's also in this movie. Ray Wise, Brian Murray. Basically, this is a mock documentary about an upstart candidate for the U.S. Senate. If you've ever seen Tanner 88, that mini-series with Michael Murphy, who was playing a fake candidate who was trying to secure the Democratic Party nomination for President of the United States in 1988, it's very much that same type of thing. You got a movie there where you have all these real political figures at the time: Bruce Babbitt, Kitty Dukakis, Bob Dole, Gary Hart, Jesse Jackson, Pat Robertson in this, and it's a really good miniseries. If you've never seen Tanner 88, I'd say definitely check it out. It's written by Gary Trudeau, the creator of Doonesbury, directed by Robert Altman. It's very good. It's very funny, very satirical, great acting by Michael Murphy as Tanner. It's definitely one you should check out at some point, and I can say a lot of the things about that movie, about that, and put it into Bob Roberts, because really, it is very much like that. The acting here is very good. Tim Robbins does a great job playing the lead character. He shows off his impressive capabilities as both a writer and director as well, which he would later show a couple years later in Dead Man Walking. The cast overall is very good. You not only have Esposito, Rickman, and Wise here, but you also have Gore Vidal, Harry Lennox, Tom Atkins, David Strathairn, James Spader, Pamela Reed, Helen Hunt, Peter Gallagher, Lynn Thigpen, Jack Black, Anita Gillette, Susan Sarandon, Fred Ward, Fisher Stevens, Bob Balaban, John Cusack. Just a strong cast overall in this movie. The comedy is very strong. The satirical elements are very well done, and the story is written in a smart, satirical fashion that puts it above most of the political comedies of the time period. And in a way, it actually did kind of become a precursor to what eventually happened 24 years later, because you have the story of a guy who is known for his entertainment capabilities, and then he eventually becomes a strong political figure. Certainly not to the levels of that person in particular, which I shall not name, but very similar elements there. This is a very funny, very clever, very satirical, very well acted, very smart political comedy that they have here, benefiting from a great script and direction. He knew exactly what kind of a story he wanted to tell and managed to do the best damn job he could possibly do with this and accomplish everything he wanted to say with it. It really is one of the great political satirical films that I don't think a lot of people really talk about, but it's definitely worth it. It's very fun. It's very good, very solid. If you haven't seen this movie, please by all means check it out. Great film, and for Tim Robbins, this is another good movie that came out in '92, because we already talked about The Player, which coincidentally was also directed by Robert Altman, which I think was one of the best movies of the year, and this is definitely another movie that was one of the strongest movies to come out of '92. If you haven't seen Bob Roberts, please by all means check it out. You will not be disappointed.
Let me have your attention for a moment. Put that coffee down. Let's talk about something important. Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. First prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired. Oh, have I got your attention now? You get the picture? You laughing now? You can't play in the man's game. You can go home and tell your wife your troubles. Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. The guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you gonna take it? Are you man enough to take it? You know what it takes to sell real estate?
Glengarry Glen Ross, honestly, is David Mamet at his absolute best. This is the best that he gives you. He wrote and directed this movie. This features a phenomenal cast: Alec Baldwin, Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, Kevin Spacey, Jonathan Pryce. Some great slick cinematography and style from Juan Ruiz Alachia. Great writing from Mamet. Just the movie is not afraid to go over the top and be so laced with profanity all around. It's amazing how many F-bombs they throw at you in your face, and it's just hilarious to watch. They make videos on YouTube just about all the times that somebody says the F word or just screams it out at them. It's hilarious to watch. If you have a chance, go onto YouTube and watch these videos because they're really funny. But they play a part into the story. I mean, Glengarry Glen Ross is without a doubt a must-watch movie, not just for the great acting, not just for the great writing and dialogue, but just for the great atmosphere, the tension this movie gives you. This is everything you expect a great movie to be, and is must-see movie making. If you want to see really great entertainment, this is definitely it right here. Glengarry Glen Ross.
You know where you came from? What's your name?
Martin Little.
No. That's the name of the slave masters who own your family. You don't even know who you are. Who are you?
Say, Roseland. Roseland.
He was a pusher, a hustler, a thief.
You ready to tackle the streets? Yeah, I'm ready. Let him come.
He was loved, respected, convicted.
State your number, Little. I forgot it.
In a dream that's divine.
He was a prisoner who set himself free.
A Muslim must be strikingly upright. I will not touch the white man's drugs, his liquor, his women, so that those in the darkness can see the power of the light. I will not lie, cheat, or steal.
I believe you will remain faithful.
Yes.
He was a follower who became a leader.
You're not an American. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
He brought honor to disobedience.
I suggest you look outside that window.
You've been laying down and bowing down for 400 years. I think it's time to stand up.
All right, break it up. You got what you wanted.
Nah, I'm not satisfied.
That's too much power for one man to have.
And a voice to a people who longed to be heard.
You saying you're anti-white?
No, you're saying I'm anti-white.
I'm sorry, Betty. I haven't been the best husband.
I love you. Do you advocate violence?
No, sir.
Academy Award winner Denzel Washington's most electrifying performance. Director Spike Lee's most powerful film.
Margaret, can we all live together? I sincerely hope so.
So this is Spike Lee's sixth movie. After Do the Right Thing, which is still one of my favorite movies of all time, this probably comes as a close second of my favorite movie from Spike Lee. I mean, this is a really fantastic film, mostly because of Denzel Washington really showing everybody what his true capabilities were as an actor. I mean, we've already seen it before in mostly little films like Mississippi Masala, and then Mighty Quinn. I almost forgot about it. And then bigger stuff like Mo Better Blues, which was the first of the 4 collaborations Washington and Lee did together. And then, of course, Glory, which won him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. We've seen how great of an actor he can really be. This was the first movie that I think a lot of people looked at and said, this guy is one of the greatest actors we've ever have working right now. And I still consider Denzel Washington to be the greatest actor working right now. I mean, the guy has never made a really bad movie. Even something that's not as good as the movie itself is not good, he will usually put his all into it. And this is one of his best performances easily. This is a fantastic film where he really gets to show everybody his abilities as a leading actor. Just a fantastic film. The visual look of the movie is impressive all around. It's very topical. It's very much a movie that still holds the test of time. Has a great cast overall. You not only have Washington and Lee, but you also have people like Angela Bassett, Al Freeman Jr., Albert Hall, Delroy Lindo, and it's just a well-made film overall. This is such a well-made film. It's a great epic movie too. This is very much. It reminded me a lot of other epic movies like Gandhi or even something like JFK. Honestly, it feels like if you blended Gandhi and JFK together, you got kind of an idea of what Spike Lee was going for with this movie. And it's, like I said, it's a very well-made film. It's a movie that's over 3 hours long, and it's a movie that you never feel like you're really in there for a long time. It moves along so smoothly, and you're so invested in what's going on with this story and all the stuff that this guy had to go through in his life. You just can't help yourself and just get invested in the story. It's such a well-made film all around. It's one of Spike Lee's greatest achievements as a filmmaker. It's a fantastic film all around. I'm really looking forward to checking it out again when it gets the Criterion release coming out a month from now, as the day I'm recording this. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to rewatching this one again and to seeing it in the way that I think the movie was. Toy boat. I'm really looking forward to watching it again and just going back and seeing how much I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Because I remember seeing this movie the first time about 10 years ago, and I was just blown away by what I saw from it. It's one of the reasons why I think Denzel Washington is probably the greatest actor we have working right now. And this is Spike Lee's one of his greatest achievements as a filmmaker. So, yeah, Malcolm X, fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and do it. You are doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so.
2 minutes! 2 minutes, England, buddy! Here he comes.
Buddy?
Man, you got 1 minute.
Oh, jeez. See you later.
Buddy Young Jr.
In 1956, Buddy Young Jr. had everything it takes to become America's favorite funny man.
You were strong tonight. I know. I killed him. I murdered him. It wasn't even fair.
A class act.
You know, every night when you bring the fat lady up from the audience and you ram her in the ass with your head?
Yeah?
You're doing it wrong.
Now!
Perfect timing. And a family that fed him his funniest gags.
My family was like dances with Jews. All we had eats with his hands, spits when he talks, makes noise when he bends.
Everybody loved him.
Except this guy right over here. Look at this guy. This is what happens when cousins marry.
Your brother.
Did you like him?
I loved him.
Oh, she's cute.
Wow!
I just can't imagine standing up there in front of all those strange people.
It's the best feeling in the world.
Today, he's as funny as he ever was.
You just don't lose it when you got it like that.
You still combing your hair with the Exxon Valdez? Who was that? You could do an interview in the basketball players after the game, in the locker room. You go, hey, you played a great game. Really, not only that, you're a very impressive young man.
But a funny thing happened on the way to the top.
You're a legend. You're a giant. You're the comics comic.
Good, because he's dead.
Buddy Young Jr. got stuck in the middle.
All right? You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. It'll work here. We'll lose the show. We're losing the show now. We're dying here.
Sometimes it takes a lifetime to be an overnight success. Billy Crystal is.
I sure don't like the sound of them drums.
Well, he's not the regular drummer.
So Mr. Saturday Night was Billy Crystal's first directorial effort, it was also kind of his chance to show everybody that he can play a more dramatic role. This is a performance where he plays a comedian, but he's also dealing with a lot of dramatic elements into this character's life. And overall, it's a very good movie. It's maybe one of the most underrated movies that Billy Crystal has ever been in. He really is fantastic in this movie, and he also shows that he's got a good ability to work behind the camera. He does a very good job with the directing on this. The writing overall is very good. It's him and the writers of City Slickers, Babalu Mandel, and Lowell Gaines, who also wrote A League of Their Own. And it's got a great cast overall. David Paymer in particular in here is fantastic. He got an Academy Award nomination for this role that he's in. You also have Julie Warner from Doc Hollywood and later on in Tommy Boy. Helen Hunt, who was just coming into her own on Mad About You at the time. Jerry Orbach from Law & Order. Ron Silver's in this. You also get cameos from classic comedians Jerry Lewis, Carl Ballantine, Slappy White, Jackie Gale. And it's just a fun movie overall. It's a well-made film, visually pleasing, both very funny and very dramatic. Nothing ever feels like it's being forced onto you. It's a great movie overall. It's one that I don't think a lot of people really talk about, but it's really one of the best movies I think Billy Crystal has ever made. It's a great movie overall. Both very funny, very sweet, and an overall enjoyable movie. I'd say if you haven't seen Mr. Saturday Night, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Please go see this movie. You will not be disappointed by it. So,
Step over to the office and get the bullwhip.
A whipping? That's all they get after what they've done? Get out of there!
It was a matter of honor.
They're paying $1,000 to whatever kills the two boys that cut up Delilah.
In a time when lawmen were killers.
What are y'all looking at?
You English, Bob? Outlaws were heroes.
Well, I thought that you were dead. Hell, I even thought I was dead. Till I found out I was just in Nebraska.
And a bad reputation
You're the one who killed William Harvey and robbed that train over Missouri?
was as good as gold.
My guess is you're calling yourself Mr. William Money.
Say what?
You don't look no meaner than hell, cold-blooded damn killer.
I ain't like that anymore, kid.
$1,000 reward, Will.
Nobody's gonna come.
So you still have that Spencer rifle, huh? He's my partner. He don't go, I don't go.
What's it come to 3 ways?
Just because we're going on this killing, that don't mean I'm gonna go back to being the way I was.
Are you really gonna kill them cowboys?
I do not like assassins. Or men of low character.
We ain't bad men no more. We're farmers.
You're a lot of savages! A bunch of bloody savages!
Assassin!
Oh, I guess they have it coming.
We all have it coming, kid.
Some legends will never be forgotten. Some wrongs can never be forgiven.
Any man don't want to get killed. Better clear on out the back.
Unforgiven.
okay, maybe modern's probably not the best word for it. I mean, technically it kind of is because it did come out in 92, but this takes place in the film itself takes place in the 1800s, so technically it's not a modern Western. It's a revisionist Western, I should have probably said, but, needless to say, though, I mean, this is one of those movies where I really don't need to talk about it too much because there's not much more that could be said about this one that hasn't already been said. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, actually, and, it's Clint Eastwood returning to the Western role that made him famous one last time, and it's a very good film. It's a really well-made film. Eastwood's given one of his best performances. He also directs the film. Gene Hackman also is very good in this movie, and you have Morgan Freeman in there, Richard Harris, and of course Eastwood and Hackman won Oscars for Best Director and Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, I should say, and then Best Picture. And of the movies that we've looked at on this particular show, this is probably the one Best Picture winner that I would say is the best of the bunch that we've looked at so far. It's better than Driving Miss Daisy. It's better than Dances with Wolves. It's better than Silence of the Lambs. It's a movie that I can go back to numerous times and just watch and be amazed by how much I enjoyed this movie so much. It's a very well-made film, fantastic film all around. Really, there's nothing else more I can put into this that hasn't already been said already about.
3 years ago, Disney's Little Mermaid thrilled audiences around the world. Last year,
Beauty and the Beast became the first animated movie to receive an Oscar nomination for Best Picture of the Year. Now, Disney takes you on an adventure beyond your imagination.
Why? 10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Aladdin. The movie Time magazine calls a ravishing thrill ride, an animated Raiders of the Lost Ark. You have to see it twice. Rolling Stone says Robin Williams is a hip comic wonder. He might just wish himself up a cartoon Oscar.
Then what better way to make your grand entrance on the streets of Agrabah than riding your very own brand new camel? Watch out, they spit.
The Disney wizards have outdone themselves again, creating another classic fairy tale filled with fantasy, suspense, and exquisite beauty.
A whole new world. Don't you dare close your eyes.
And Siskel and Ebert rave, this is an amazing piece of entertainment. 2 thumbs up.
Never had a friend, never had a friend.
It would have taken a miracle to surpass the achievement of Beauty and the Beast. The miracle's name is Aladdin, the best film of the year.
Group hug. Oh, mind if I kiss the monkey? Oh, hairball.
Walt Disney Pictures, Aladdin. The movie USA Today gives 4 stars.
Never had a friend like me. Made you look.
So kind of like what they did with Beauty and the Beast the year before, they actually put this out in a couple of theaters limitedly. I think they did it in California and New York, and then a couple weeks later it eventually went wide in the theaters. And that's why we're talking about it right now. And the great thing about Aladdin is that it's one of those movies that's one of those rare movies that's both very dated, but also kind of timeless in a way. And it's mostly dated because some of the genie's jokes can be very dated, but at the same time, that's just kind of the greatness of the movie. Really, the best thing about the movie is Robin Williams as the genie. Just great casting by Disney, and he handled that role very well. And you could tell that he was just having the time of his life doing all these different voices for this performance. And I think there's a documentary where there's like several hours of various audio recordings that Robin Williams did that never made it into the movie. And it's really fascinating to watch, honestly. Like, you could tell that he was having the time of his life making this movie. And it's kind of unfortunate what happened with him and Disney, because what happened was, when this movie was being promoted, I guess there was a thing in his contract where he didn't want to, there was something where I guess he didn't want the genie to be the main focus of the advertising of the movie, and he's pretty much all over the advertising for it. He's on front of the posters. I mean, the teaser poster is his lamp. The trailers, they got to show a lot of the genie in there, and it really irked him a lot, where he actually kind of ended his relationship with Disney for a long time, which is why in the sequels that they did for home video, The Return of Jafar, it's Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, as the genie. But then they eventually worked it out when Robert Williams came back for the last Aladdin movie, The King of Thieves, and I guess after that their relationship kind of went back on track again. But it's a very interesting story about what happened when this movie came out. But on top of Williams' performance, the rest of the movie is just great too. The animation overall is spectacular. It's got that great contemporary Disney animation style we've come to expect from them. Aladdin and Jasmine are great characters. Jafar is a great villain. Iago, the great sidekick. They all make Disney characters so memorable are in this movie. And the music is also great. You've got Alan Menken and Tim Rice with some great music. Memorable songs that we still sing a lot along to. Even today, like A Whole New World, Friend Like Me, Prince Ali, just these classic songs. There's even a song that was never used in the movie, but was later brought into the musical, which was Proud of Your Boy, which, if you ever watched the Aladdin the first DVD release of Aladdin, they have a music video on there by Clay Aiken, and it's done pretty well. Like, it's a shame that it wasn't in the movie, and I was kind of hoping it'd be there in the live-action film, which kind of is, sort of, but it's completely different. It's a different song altogether, but it definitely feels like that vibe. It definitely felt like that song. If you ever seen the remake of Aladdin, which I like the remake of Aladdin enough, but really, with those live-action remakes, I always say nothing ever tops the original, and there's really nothing more you could say about this movie. It's a classic Disney movie, one of the best, one of the highlights of the second golden age of Disney animation. It's just a terrific film overall. Just a wonderful film. I can't recommend it enough.
Just outside of Chicago, in the basement of this house, broadcast history is about to be made.
Extreme close-up.
I want you to find out who these guys are and where they do their show.
What is
Mr. Vanderhoff, this is your audience.
It's two chimps on a Davenport in a basement.
Here I am with the contract for $5,000.
Excuse me? Now they're on their way.
No way. Wait.
To fame.
Will you still love me when I'm in my carbohydrate sequin jumpsuit? Young girls in white cotton panties, bloated, purple, dead on a toilet face?
To fortune.
Contractor, no. I will not bow to any sponsor.
And to babe heaven.
What are you doing? Every time you see this one incredible woman, you think you're gonna hurl. I say hurl. If you blow chunks and she comes back, she's yours. If you spew and she bolts, it was never meant to be. Okay?
It's Wade.
This is definitely the type of place I'm gonna get when I move out of my parents' house.
It's God.
I love you, God.
If she were a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln.
It's a movie.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Wayne's World.
Hi, Wayne.
It just might be the greatest motion picture ever made.
Are you mental? Beelzebub has the devil put aside for me. For me.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World is certainly an interesting piece of movie history when you really think about it. It was actually the first sketch comedy movie to come from Saturday Night Live since the Blues Brothers in 1980. I mean, the Blues Brothers was a huge success back then. It actually kind of surprised me that Lorne Michaels and the people at SNL, the cast members that they had, never took the characters that they had on there and tried to make a movie out of them. They probably did, but they never really got past the development stage. But this was the first one in 12 years that they said this is worthy enough for a movie, and it made for, honestly, one of my all-time favorite comedies. I mean, really, there's nothing more that I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said about it. It's just a damn good movie. It's hilarious. It's very funny. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey have that great chemistry together as Wayne and Garth. It's so silly. It's ridiculous. It's one of the funniest comedies ever put together. I mean, it's not just a great transition of the SNL sketch to the big screen, but it's just a great comedy. And like I said before, Myers and Carvey work off each other so well. And it works because of all the self-referential humor, the awareness that it has of what it is. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, the scene where they're talking about sponsorships, and they have all the sponsorships from Pizza Hut, Pepsi, Newprin, all those different Doritos, all those different companies. It's just hilarious. It's brilliant satire, and really a lot of it comes from the writing of both of Mike Myers and also Dana Carvey, and the director Penelope Spears, who would later go on to direct a couple of other good movies such as The Beverly Hillbillies and The Little Rascals. I know she had a falling out with Mike Myers over Wayne's World 2, and that's why she didn't return for that one. But I think they made amends on that. I don't know for sure, but you can definitely look it up. I think I do remember seeing somewhere that they did make amends on it. So, but yeah, really, what's more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said? It's absolutely hilarious. The casting overall is just great. Not only do you have Myers and Carvey, but you also have guys like Rob Lowe. You have Brian Doyle Murray, Robert Patrick spoofing his character from Terminator 2, Chris Farley, Ed O'Neill. You got Ione Skye, Meatloaf, Alice Cooper, Tia Carrera, Laura Flynn Boyle. Just a phenomenal cast all throughout this movie. Kurt Fuller in here. Just a great cast. They all work off each other so well. And it's just very funny stuff. It's really, really funny stuff. It really is one of the funniest movies ever made. It began a streak of SNL sketches coming to the big screen in the 90s, but none of them really ever topped what Wayne's World did. I mean, it's just a great movie all around. I love it so much. You love it too.
At Leland, Linda Voss. 90 words a minute, bilingual dictation, and speaks German with the accent of a Berlin butcher's wife.
Lethal combination. Could you stand up and turn around, please?
Why should I do that?
It's an observation test.
Well, I'll take it sitting down.
What I was going to ask you to do is stand up, turn around, and close your eyes and tell me everything you see in the room.
Pictures of sailboats and polo ponies, fancy books and diplomas, stuffed fish on the wall, and a couple of guys from Harvard who are surprised that a girl who needs a job won't be treated like a slave.
Are you always like this?
For a woman who dares to speak her mind,
The German language is very specific. Unless, of course, this is all just some kind of code, in which case you should just tell me.
for a man who isn't what he seems.
You're a spy, Mr. Leland.
And you've seen too many movies, Miss Voss.
Enough to know a spy when I see one.
Love happened at the wrong time.
The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air.
Overnight, the world changed.
That man put his life on the line, which is more than anybody in this room is about to do.
Now, they have to risk everything.
I know the codes, I know the network, I know the whole operation.
Linda, you are a secretary, you are not a spy.
I will quit if you don't let me go.
I'll miss you.
I will, damn it!
You know what you're getting yourself into, Linda.
Dan, it's a war.
I'll meet you in 2 weeks.
Eyes down, say nothing, and try not to look like a spy.
What happened to the replacement? The replacement is lost in Berlin.
Get her the hell out of there.
Go away, or you'll kill us all. Michael Douglas, Melanie Griffith.
I want you on that train.
I can't come out now.
Shining through.
Wow, I completely forgot that she actually talks like this throughout the entire movie. I mean, well, that wasn't quite what I wanted to delve into, but that is shining through. But, yeah, that's, this is a mess of a movie. I mean, my God. That trailer was bad. I mean, that trailer just gives you it's kind of like Love Crimes. It's kind of it just shows you why it fails on so many levels, but this movie fails on levels that are beyond me, because the people that are involved in this are extremely talented people. I mean, you've got Michael Douglas, an Academy Award winner, Melanie Griffith, an Academy Award nominee that deserved an Academy Award nomination for a Working Girl, Liam Neeson, just before he found success with Schindler's List, Jolie Richardson, John Gielgud, another Academy Award winner. This director has been behind some of the most memorable movies ever made, including The Omen and recent stuff like Burn on a Wire. But, yeah, this movie... Well, first off, the whole idea of doing a melodramatic World War II drama that's kind of romantic has been really done to death. I mean, it was done to death years before Pearl Harbor was the final nail in the coffin, the Michael Bay movie. But, yeah, nobody was really doing this anymore, and for good reason, because they were all just the same movie over and over again. But, no, this movie is completely one of those on the so bad it's good type of level, just for some of the performances alone in this movie. The line readings that some of these actors give, specifically Melanie Griffith, are terrible. I mean, Melanie Griffith is a great actress, but this was around the time she was just picking one bad movie after another, and we're gonna see a lot of really bad movies with her in them, unfortunately, because, like I said before, she's proven she could be a great actress. She was great in Working Girl. She's been great in some other movies, but what I'm about to show you here is an Academy Award nominated actress giving one of the worst line readings to a line that is terrible ever made. I mean, this is one of those moments where this is what makes the movie so memorably bad. It's just watch.
I want you to taste my strudel, the way my grandmother taught me to make it, and my apple compote. She taught me to cook German style, the way my grandfather likes it. And I could cook for 50 if I had to. 5 courses, the way they do it in Berlin. And on nights when they didn't have people over, I could bring tea and strudel up to the Drescher's study and put a little schnapps in the tea so that Horst and Hedda would get tired and could retire early, and I could be left alone in the study to clean up. This is not about you and me, damn it. I want to do something important with my life.
Good Lord, man, try the damn strudel. Just get her to shut up. I mean, now granted, I guess the idea is that she's talking in code, but it's just the way she's reading this line. Like, she's not speaking coherent sentences. She's saying multiple sentences in, like, one straight line. And she can't even swear right. I mean, granted, I had to take this clip from Cisco and Ebert because I couldn't find the actual clip itself on its own. So they probably cut out the goddammit part there. But just that line reading. This is not about you and me, damn it. That's how you usually would do it. But she goes, this is not about you and me, damn it. I mean, this is like, it's a bad line reading. It makes Tommy Wiseau. I mean, I'm thoroughly convinced Tommy Wiseau decided to become an actor because of a movie like this. I mean, this is straight up something on the lines of Wiseau's The Room, in terms of just badly reading lines, and the worst part is, like I said, it's Melanie Griffith. She's proven she's been a capable actress before, and this is just like, who looked at this and said, that's good, Melanie, we don't need you to do another version that's actually kind of serious and all that, but, no, we'll just stick with this one here. And it's just like, it makes no sense at all why they went with this. I mean, it's just, it's a so bad it's good type of line because it is so hilariously bad. But the rest of the movie itself is just so bad. I mean, it's just so melodramatic. It's so not exciting at all. These explosions that happen in this movie, this is supposed to take place in the middle of a war, and you get bored immediately with how bad these scenes are shot. Like, there's no sense of urgency, there's no sense of fear, there's no sense of drama going on here. It's just a mess on so many levels. It's a bad movie. It's really one of the reasons why January is such a dumping ground, because Fox knew this was bad. Like, you don't put a movie like this in January and expect something great to come out of it. I mean, at least not back then. Maybe nowadays, but no. They knew this was terrible, and clearly they just wanted to dump it out there, get it out there so it could just go away, and kind of did, so shining through.
From master animator Don Bluth, director of the classics An American Tail and The Land Before Time, comes an all-new adventure for the whole family, Rock-A-Doodle. Edmund always enjoyed reading his favorite book. But tonight, he's really getting into it.
I have some rather bad news.
He turned me into a cat.
Kittens are more digestible.
Uh-oh.
Suddenly, Edmund is in a wondrous world where the Grand Duke of Owls has stirred up a colossal storm to stop the sun from shining.
Hope you can swim, guys.
Now, Edmund and his newfound friends are off on an amazing adventure to find the only one who can bring back the sun.
The city!
They're looking for a rooster to save the day, and not just your ordinary barnyard variety.
Ladies and gentlemen, the king.
Let me be your rooster, and let the rooster be you.
Here.
Let me be your rooster, let me hear your sweet voice.
Get them out of here!
You boys is dead meat. Well, you're the number one chick in this chicken coop. I wanna rock.
Look, we're running out of time here.
Oh, no. Guys, we're gonna go back and get him.
Stop those birds!
I'm gonna rock-a-doodle to you. Like a rock-a-doodle.
Get ready for the magical animation sensation that'll rock your socks off. Rock-A-Doodle.
I love it. I'm positively low. Rock and roll.
Yeah, so remember when I said that All Dogs Go to Heaven was kind of the start of the downfall for Don Bluth? This is where it really starts to take effect, because this is a movie that was originally announced in 1990. In fact, if you had the All Dogs Go to Heaven videotape in 1990, there was a teaser for this that said it was coming out that year. In fact, MGM was actually going to put this movie out in November, but then, kind of like what happened with Bluth's relationship with Universal and Steven Spielberg, there was a lot of financial difficulties, and the studio had to release, and they sold the film off to another studio. The Samuel Goldwyn Company became the studio that was going to put this out. They were actually going to put this out in Thanksgiving, but because that Disney also had Beauty and the Beast and Universal had their own animated film, An American Tail 5 Goes West, they actually pushed the film back even further to April of 1992. And for some reason, not often, but most kids' movies don't usually do well outside of in the month of April, and this, you can definitely tell that this one was not going to have as much of an effect. It also didn't help that I felt like this when you watch this movie, you feel like that Don Bluth saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he got this idea that he had to make something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because they tack on these live action scenes in the beginning and the end of the film that really do not work out so well. I mean, they're not badly animated, but just the way the film presents it, it feels like it's rather unnecessary to the story itself. Like, you really had no reason to have these live action sequences in here. It just felt like that Bluth had to do something like Roger Rabbit, because that was the one everybody was talking about. It was kind of like when Charles Schultz did that Peanuts special that came out almost months after after Roger Rabbit came out. The Girl in the Red Truck, Charlie Brown, which featured one of Snoopy's cousins, and that was another one that didn't end up working out so well. But then, bottom line here is that this movie's not very good. It's a movie that really shows the lack of... It shows that Don Bluth kind of losing his magic a little bit. The musical numbers aren't that great. The animation overall is subpar. The story makes no sense whatsoever. And there's just no fun factor here. It's a movie that's like, it doesn't get anybody excited. There's nothing really engaging going on. The main character is really annoying and obnoxious. Like, I know it's a kid actor, but at the same time, you gotta at least try and not take the first take that this kid does. And it just doesn't work. It's a movie that really, you could definitely tell that they were just sticking anything to the wall and seeing if it was going to work, and most of it doesn't really work. I mean, it's not very well done. It's a lackluster film, to say the least. It's not one of Don Bluth's worst movies overall. I've seen worse, and we'll get to more of his far lesser films as we go along, but you could definitely tell that this was kind of the beginning of the end of that stronghold that Don Bluth had in the 1980s. I mean, Secret of Nim, American Tail, Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and now you have this movie, and that's where the downfall kind of starts to take shape. It's a shame, too, because, I mean, Don Bluth really does put his heart and soul into most of his projects, and sadly, this one just didn't work out so well, unfortunately.
Where did he come from? Where'd you come from, Rook?
From out of nowhere.
You play inside ball. Hit them where they ain't.
Well, they ain't over the fences, so that's where I hit them. I used to get arrested for that. Now they give me a check.
From a boy.
He isn't all the bad in his life.
To a man.
That ball is out of here!
Babe Ruth.
Yeah, I know. You're making more money than the president.
Here's to you, fellas. Let's have a hell of a season.
He lived his life
Was that the big ape out on a rampage last night?
like he played the game.
What the hell are you gonna do with a son of a gun like that?
You're still a big kid with 44 home runs and the saddest eyes I've ever seen.
I don't even like baseball, but I love to watch you sacco.
You're out! You better get your eyes checked.
You're at it again!
Why is everybody riding me? I ain't hurt nobody! I ain't hurt nobody!
You are incorrigible.
You are washed up!
Babe's gonna sock you a home run. Does that make you feel better, Johnny? 2?
Are you Santa Claus?
That's good.
Well, no, kiddo. I'm Babe Ruth.
He ain't human, he's an animal.
He's a god.
The man was a legend.
Sure, pass them out to all the fellas, will you, man?
The legend was real. John Goodman, the Babe.
So this is not the first time somebody's tried to tackle Babe Ruth on the big screen. Most notably, back in 1948, there was a movie called The Babe Ruth Story, which was actually made when Ruth was still alive. Unfortunately, it's considered one of the worst movies of all time, mostly because it's heavy-handed. It doesn't really tackle all the major issues of Babe Ruth's life. Completely forgets about the first wife that Babe Ruth ever had, and it tries way too hard to be sentimental, really. And it's a bad movie, but I'm not gonna lie. Having seen the clips that I've seen, this looks like it's one of those so bad it's good type of movies, because there are moments in this movie that I've seen in clips where I'm laughing so hard and thinking to myself, they really thought that this was going to make for a good film. And also very interesting here, there's actually a scene where a dog actually hits where a dog gets hit by a baseball, and they literally show they show the dog getting hit by the baseball. And all I'm thinking to myself is, holy crap, where's PETA when you need them on that? Like, it's part of a stupid plot too, where Babe literally decides to leave a baseball game to get this one dog healthy, and he ends up getting suspended for several games because of this. It's one of those stupid movies that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but at the same time, you gotta love it for just how incredibly stupid and so lazy it is. It's a movie that was literally rushed because Babe Ruth was dying, and not even kidding, he died 3 weeks after that movie came out. Like, they put up this happy ending together, making you think that, oh, Babe's gonna get out of there okay, and then 3 weeks later he dies in real life, and it's just like, whoops. But the thing is that the Babe Ruth Story is a bad movie, but it's one of those so bad it's good type of movies. But then you have this movie that's just a bad movie. It's not a very good movie. It's one that could have been, because you got John Goodman here, and John Goodman is a terrific actor. We've seen him on television and in movies. He is a great actor, and sadly, this was right around the time he was finding success with Roseanne. I think he won a couple of Emmys as Roseanne's husband on here, and of course that meant Hollywood was trying to make him into the next big movie star, and not a lot of the movies he picked were all that great as a leading man. I mean, he did have some good projects with Matinee, which we'll get to when we get to 93, and then, I mean, the Flintstones, I mean, he's perfectly cast in that, but that's still 2 years from now. And even in here, he's not badly cast as Babe Ruth. The problem is, the Babe Ruth Story, it's like they took that and said, no, we gotta tame it down even more. We gotta make this so family friendly that we're not even gonna bring up the drinking problem that he had, or his several affairs with women. And it's just a badly written script, and I don't blame Goodman for this whatsoever, because I think he is trying his best with the material that's given to him, but it's not really good material at all. It's a movie that just really fails on so many levels, because it is playing it way too safe. I mean, for 1990s, play it safe. Like, this is a movie that's like, take the whole family to see this movie. Don't even bother to read the history about what Babe Ruth was actually doing behind the scenes. And like, the Babe Ruth Story, I've said before, is a so bad it's good type of movie. This is a movie that's just a badly written movie. It's not a great film whatsoever. It's even more sentimental than the Babe Ruth Story, and it's just not a good movie whatsoever. It's a major misfire on so many levels. I honestly can't even think of a movie that has actually done the Babe Ruth Story right. I mean, not even something like Everybody's Hero, which came out about almost 15 years later. And I think if I remember correctly, Brian Dennehy was Babe Ruth. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, and when I saw it, I don't even remember it being that good. But I mean, someday somebody's got to make a good story about Babe Ruth. I mean, it took them many years to make a good movie about Jackie Robinson in '42. I mean, why can't you do it with Babe Ruth? I mean, if you're gonna do it though, you really need to go for it. Like, tell the true story of what really happened behind the scenes, all the drinking problems, the money problems, the affairs that he had, like all that kind of stuff. But I don't know who's going to be able to do it. But until then, we have these lesser movies that we have here to look at. And this is definitely a lesser movie. It's a very disappointing film, to say the least, because John Goodman really could make this work, but he's just given a really bad script to work with, and there's just nothing there. It's a big mess on so many levels, and that's really all I gotta say about The Babe.
We discovered in space, no one can hear you scream. In 1992, we would discover on Earth, everyone can hear you scream.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Too bad it wasn't the movie we got. I mean, talk about one of the most misleading trailers of all time. I mean, nothing like that happens in the movie. Now, from what I was told, that was actually part of the earlier script that they had that they eventually decided not to do. But, still though, I mean, talk about one of the most misleading trailers of all time. But don't worry, we eventually do get the alien on Earth. It was unfortunately in a terrible alien movie, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. But this movie is really not that good. I mean, it's a bad movie. It really is. I mean, right from the get-go, it basically destroys most of the stuff that happened in Aliens. Like, it kills off every single person that survived in Aliens, except, of course, for Ripley, because she's Sigourney Weaver. She's the face of the franchise. Of course she's got to be the one that survives that one. And the movie just doesn't work. It's a movie that's all over the place. It's way too slow. There's nothing exciting about it whatsoever. It's a bad movie on so many levels. But at the same time, there are some good things about it. For one thing, the visual effects are still very impressive. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that still holds up to this very day. There's some great visual effects that still hold up, some great practical effects. This is stuff that still holds up to this very day, so much so that it even got nominated for an Oscar for Best Visual Effects, and really I can't argue with that because they still do look very impressive. And also, considering what follows after this movie, I mean, this one is bad, but I've seen much worse. I mean, Alien Resurrection I still think is the worst one of this series. The Alien vs. Predator movies are still terrible. I'm not the biggest fan of Prometheus. I know a lot of people are. I guess that's probably the best thing to come out of this series since Aliens. And I really didn't like Alien Isolation. I think that this series the series never really could live up to the hype of the first the Alien sequel. Aliens, James Cameron's Aliens, I should say. But those are really only the few positive things I have to say about it. And there are some memorable moments in here too. I mean, the moment where the alien has Ripley to the wall and the alien opens up and it's another alien mouth. I mean, that's one of the few things that still holds up with this movie. The ending for this movie is atrocious, and it's just a bad movie. It's just like the ending for this movie is completely ridiculous. The fact that apparently Sigourney Weaver only did this movie only for Ellen Ripley to die at the end, which thank God that didn't. Which it's a good thing that didn't work, because she was eventually back in the series 5 years later with Resurrection, and even worse in that movie. Like, at least in this movie, she was still her character. Alien Resurrection is, like I said, it's a mess of a film. We will eventually get to that movie down the road, but yeah, Alien 3 really is a mess of a film. It's a bad movie. It's definitely not the first two Alien movies, but at the same time, I've seen much worse from this series, so overall, I just think it's after years of thinking about it, I think it is just an overall mixed bag of a movie that is not great, but is certainly not great, but it's definitely a lot better than what came after the series, so after this movie came out, so I'm not even going to... So, Alien 3, it is what it is. It should have been a whole lot better. But, actually, there is one more positive. We got David Fincher out of it, and of course, after this movie, he went on to become one of our great directors. Seven, Fight Club, Benjamin Button, Steve Jobs, Social Network. Yeah, he did Steve Jobs. Other great movies from him. So, there's at least that. So, but other than that, yeah, like I said, Alien 3 is not that good of a movie.
During his 10 years in prison, Jack Deebs created his own world. It made him very successful.
You're Jack Deebs, the creator of Cool World, right? I can't believe it.
Now he thinks he's going home to the real world. But he's wrong. Real wrong.
Welcome to my world.
You're not in Kansas anymore. Freeze. Cool World Police. I'm a cartoonist. I do all this.
This place exists with or without you.
Get a little closer here, babe. Give us a kiss.
Go away.
I'm out of here.
I've been waiting for you, darling.
Noids do not have sex with doodles. It's the oldest law in Cool World. If that happens, you call me.
I got it, boss.
Since it's only a dream, indulge your fantasies. The man is in the bedroom.
Are you gonna follow the rules? Or are you gonna follow your instincts?
You're about to make an unscheduled trip to the other side. Buster.
This is gonna be the biggest disaster the Cool World has ever seen.
Stop! Cease! Nobody's supposed to stop me now.
You look good in the flesh. It's almost a shame I gotta take you back.
I just want to be real.
You gotta slow down.
Not on your life, pal.
Enough out of you, kitty. This place should be erased.
Hey, it's a living.
Cool world.
We may not be real to you as yet, but we will be.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about with this movie, and let's start with the production history behind it, because this actually begins about 2 years prior to this film's release in 1990. Ralph Bakshi decided to make another animated film, so he pitched the idea of Cool World to Paramount Pictures, where Bakshi had worked as the final head of the studio's animation division. He wanted to pitch it as an animated horror film, the idea being that the movie is about a cartoon and a live-action human having sex and conceiving a hybrid child who visits the real world to murder the father who abandoned her. Bakshi said the studio bought it within seconds, and just from that idea alone, that makes this a whole lot more interesting. This is a movie that's an idea that could be very, very interesting, especially in '92, if you're trying to go for a darker, more edgier Roger Rabbit type of movie. Unfortunately, that's not the movie we get, and in fact, Bakshi himself actually got really screwed by Paramount Pictures, because when they were building the sets in Las Vegas, one of the producers, Frank Mancuso Jr., who was the son of the president at the time, Frank Mancuso Sr., he had the script rewritten in secrecy, and Bakshi was just basically given a script written by two different people that was not even close to what the original film was supposed to be. And the idea was that he wanted the producer, Mancuso Jr., wanted to move away from the horror films that Paramount had been making, because this was the studio that also did the Friday the 13th franchises, and wanted to produce a film, quote, about what happens when someone creates a world, becomes defined by it, they can't escape, and it's a film about being trapped by your own creation, which, concept-wise, that could work, but it's important to remember that Bakshi pretty much got screwed because of this, and Bakshi even got into a fight with Mancuso and punched him in the mouth. That's how pissed off he was, but of course Paramount threatened Bakshi with a lawsuit if he refused to complete the film, and he basically just went along with it. Bakshi got screwed big time. There's no denying that he got screwed big time. They gave him a completely different script to work with that was nothing like what he wrote. He threatened to quit, and Paramount said they would sue him, and we start getting into how this movie became what it eventually became, because Bakshi wanted to originally cast Drew Barrymore and Brad Pitt in the leading roles. Brad Pitt was cast as the other live-action character, Frank Harris, you see in the trailer here, and Gabriel Byrne was cast as Deebs. Kim Basinger was cast as Holly. That was what Drew Barrymore was supposed to play. And according to Bakshi, Basinger had attempted to rewrite the film again halfway through the production because she thought it would be great if she was able to show the picture in hospitals to sick children. And Ralph Bakshi literally said, Kim, I think that's wonderful, but you've got the wrong guy to do that with. And first of all, you want to sell this movie to kids? I mean, really? First off, she was just in Batman. That was more suitable for kids than this movie was. Hell, My Stepmother is an Alien, which he had made just before that, was more suitable to show the kids than this. Yeah, Basinger was just basically letting the fame that she had gotten in the late 80s get the best of her back, and then apparently also Drew Barrymore certainly would have been a more interesting character and casting choice instead of Basinger, especially if you just seen her in Poison Ivy at the time. And really, there's just so much in this movie that is so crazy behind the scenes that it's just amazing that this movie is one of those interesting failures that comes around every once in a while. There's a lot of ambition to it, but when the final project comes out, it's just a complete mess all around. But at the same time, you got to admire for the stuff that it did work. I will say this, going for the movie, the animation in this, while incredibly chaotic and over the place, can sometimes really be amazing to look at. You got all these different visuals and backgrounds that are impressive to look at, with some homages to Disney, Looney Tunes, comics, Fleischer Studios, Terry Toons. All that is in here, and most of the time when it's not just used in random scenes and dialogue, because it is used randomly, like somebody like Holly will be talking to the Brad Pitt character, and all of a sudden you'll just see random animations coming all over the place for no reason whatsoever. And other than that, it is great to look at. This is Bakshi doing some of his best animation he's done for a movie yet, and yet it's one of his most polarizing films he's ever made. But, you know, as we talked about in the past, visuals do not make the movie, and the script is really where the movie collapses on its own, mostly because of what happened on the first day of shooting. It's like the scriptwriters who were brought in had no idea what to do either. The characters are so poorly written, you cannot connect to any of these characters in any way, shape, or form. Basinger's Hollywood is just basically just a one-sided character who wants to feel the touch of a Noid, as they say, the real humans are calling this, sexually, and when she finally does, and becomes a human herself, has nothing else to work with. Brad Pitt is essentially written as a hypocritical cop in this movie, who's basically going after this Noid for something he wants to do with his own animated girlfriend, too, which, I mean, it's like if Donald Trump accused Hillary Clinton of doing things that Trump did himself. Okay, I'm stepping away. I'm not getting political on this one, but you get the idea. It's very hypocritical, to say the least. But, and then you get to Gabriel Byrne, who really has nothing to do in this movie. First off, he creates this world when he was in prison, and Byrne was about 42 years old at the time, and Brad Pitt gets zapped into the world in 1945. And it really that doesn't make sense. His character is written so poorly that they have to have other people literally speaking his own backstories for him. I counted in this movie. There's 4 times in this movie where another character is going through his backstory, and every single time, he never has to say anything. He has literally no dialogue in this. He only speaks in one-word sentences, cliched riddle lines, and it's like the movie itself doesn't even give a crap about him. Then why the hell did you even put him in this movie? So much so that by the final action scene in the movie, he's not even there anymore. Like, he literally turns into there's a scene, the final act of the movie has Jack just leave after he's been given the opportunity to be a hero that comes out of nowhere, essentially replaced with Banana Man, right down with having him voiced by Maurice LaMarche, who has, like, several characters in this movie, but it's like the movie was like, okay, we're tired of your non-acting ass. We're getting somebody in here to line this up. And sure enough, Gabriel Byrne never comes back after that scene. That's how much of this movie does not give a crap about anybody. Even the movie ends on this weird, but on this wacky note. This movie starts off as this incredibly dark and edgy movie, but then by the end, they just go for the most wacky, insane, and happiest endings they could possibly come up with. There's a part in the movie is towards the end of the film. Brad Pitt's character gets killed off by Holly as she's flickering back and forth from human to doodle, and then later on, Frank's partner takes him back to the cool world to his girlfriend, and then she asks him, was she a doodle when she killed him? And basically, what happens is that when you get killed by a doodle, you become a doodle yourself, which never gets explained at any point before then, but it's happening here. And guess what happens? Brad Pitt's now a cartoon character, so there was a purpose to that scene where she's flickering back and forth from human to doodle. A bad purpose, but a purpose nonetheless. This movie is just it's a weird movie. Don't get me wrong, this is a bad movie, but it's a uniquely bad movie. It's a uniquely bad movie because we are literally seeing a director being forced into directing a project he wanted nothing to do with. This is one of the most uniquely bad movies I've ever seen. You could look at this movie and director Ralph Bakshi having no idea how the hell to make this movie with this reworked script he was given. But on that front, I would say that this is one of those so bad it's good type of movies, like the ones that you should watch just for how unusually unique it is. And it really is an unusually unique, interesting failure that came out of this movie. It's not a good movie by any means, but if you're looking for something very WTF and just all over the place, and the effort being put in there when there was really no intention of putting any effort in there by the people behind the scenes, this is that movie to do it with. This is actually, if you want a so bad it's good type of movie, Cruel World is definitely something that you should definitely check out.
From the director of Home Alone.
I'm really flying.
Comes a magical tale for the entire family.
Welcome to Slumberland, my boy.
When a little boy has big dreams, anything is possible.
Your Majesty, may I present little Nemo?
And every wish can come true.
I hereby crown you Prince Nemo. Let the celebration begin.
Take off on a wondrous adventure with a young explorer.
It will be Prince Nemo's solemn duty to protect Slumberland from the Nightmare King as I have done.
Who must save the life of a noble king.
Nemo, give me the royal scepter!
He's been taken away to Nightmare Land.
Outmatch the power of a mighty monster.
Ooh, pajamas do scare me so.
And win the heart of a beautiful princess.
No one has ever accepted a royal invitation in his underwear.
Share the excitement. The laughter.
I haven't had this much fun in years.
Neither have I.
The music of Little Nemo. With songs by Melissa Manchester and Academy Award winners Richard and Robert Sherman.
This is great.
Featuring the voice of Mickey Rooney as Flip.
Did anyone ever tell you you're kind of cute when you're angry?
Now, let the child in your heart fly.
Quite the prince you become, my little Nemo.
Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland.
Man, talk about a major missed opportunity. There's no real way to talk about this movie than to talk about... This is another one of those movies that's one of those interesting film failures, because this began development back in 1982, and they had a number of people aboard on this project, including animators that had worked at Disney, Star Wars, Looney Tunes, Studio Ghibli, names such as George Lucas, Chuck Jones, Ray Bradbury, Brad Bird, Jerry Rees, Chris Columbus. You see his name in the credits as one of the writers on here, and it's also advertised as from the director of Home Alone, which it's kind of true, but then it's kind of not. You also have Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnson, two classic Disney writers, Paul Julian, a classic animator at Warner Brothers. Well, not Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson were not writers, they were animators, I should say. The Sherman Brothers wrote the music for this. Hayao Miyazaki, who was working at TMS at the time. Gary Kurtz, the producer of Star Wars. This was supposed to be the big showcase for TMS. TMS Animation, if you don't know who they are, you've definitely seen their work before, because they've done their best work. They are most notably known for working on Akira, which is a classic animated film, but they also did the animation for classic American shows like Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series, a lot of the Warner Brothers shows from the 90s, a lot of the Disney afternoon shows from the 80s and 90s. So this was supposed to be their big showcase film to really show off what they could do as an animation studio, and the end result is a nicely animated film, but a film with a lot of creative and writing plot holes to it. I mean, this is a movie that really looks impressive, but when you look at the script overall for this is a movie that has a really lousy written script, but mostly because it was a jumbled mess, because you have all these creative minds coming in here, and they're not really giving these characters a whole lot to do, especially Nemo, who's voiced by Gabriel Damon, who you may remember as the voice of Littlefoot from Land Before Time, and also the kid from RoboCop 2. And all of Little Nemo's dialogue in this particular movie is mostly just expressions, like him saying yippee all the time, and just not really having much of a defined character, but he's supposed to be the main hero of the film. A lot of the people in this movie, a lot of the characters in this movie really have no real intentions except to just play the typical characters that they're playing, and the situation that these characters are put into are not really all that inventive. They're not really all that creative. The songs in here are not that memorable. I mean, you've got the Sherman Brothers working on this movie. I mean, these are guys that could turn any song in this movie into musical gems. But here, there's just nothing in here. It's a movie that really fails to really get the potential that they could have gotten out of this, because this is based off of a comic strip series from the 1910s. 1900s, 1910s. There really could have been something incredible with this movie that could have been done with it, but I think because there was just so many problems behind the scenes of how to present this movie and how to write the script better, how to make these characters come out better, I think the movie really suffers big time, and it's a shame too, because, like I said, the movie has some great animation to it. I mean, this is TMS, this is a great animation company, but really, I think their showcase project really came from Akira, which is a movie that we still talk about today as not only one of the great animated movies of all time, but one of the great movies of all time. But this movie in particular really, it's a shame that it didn't turn out as well as I think they could have been, because this really could have been something amazing. And maybe, hopefully, one day somebody will actually do something with this property, because there is a lot of potential with these Little Nemo stories that could be translated into animation in film form. I think there's a lot of potential here. There really was a lot of potential in this movie that could have been done, but it just never really got a chance to really show off what it could really do, because a lack of good character development and a lack of a good story to give these characters to work with. And yeah, it's a shame that it didn't work out, because there really was a lot of potential here that just really fell apart quickly with this movie. So it's a shame too, because like I said, there was a lot of potential there, and the animation still looks great over 30 years later. So, but it is what it is. That's Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland for you.
From Barry Levinson, the Academy Award-winning director of Rain Man. And Robin Williams, the star of Dead Poets Society.
I'm in the mood for smoked chicken. How about you?
Comes the story of a man who makes jokes.
I'm Leslie Zebo.
Makes love.
I like you.
Well, I like you too. I think love is wonderful.
And makes toys.
How do you feel?
Woozy.
That's what we'll call the woozy helmet.
This is a little uncomfortable now.
Well, it's supposed to go in your ear.
Oh.
And a man who makes war.
Sit down, Leslie.
I don't understand why Daddy let Uncle Leland take over Zevo toys.
I've moved it in with the idea of putting in some war toys. You never made war toys at Zevo. I'm going to need that much more space. General.
Now, only one man is courageous enough and outrageous enough to find a way to fight back.
The future is anarchy. Let's wind up the troops.
A most unlikely hero in the most unlikely battle that ever saved the world. 20th Century Fox presents an extraordinary motion picture. Robin Williams in a Barry Levinson film.
So this is Paris.
Toys!
Make believe, not.
So I kind of feel like this was Barry Levinson's passion project. Like, this was something he wanted to do, but he wanted to wait until his street cred was more acceptable that he could do something like this. And he had already established his name at this point. He was a very good director with stuff like Diner, The Natural, Young Sherlock Holmes, Good Morning Vietnam, Rain Man, Avalon, Bugsy. But, I don't know, this movie, I don't hate this movie like everybody else does, but I can definitely see why a lot of people, when this movie came out, really dismantle it, because it's very confusing. The story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. and the characters aren't really all that written well, especially Robin Williams, who's giving his best in this. I mean, this movie, in a way, it kind of reminds me of Forever Young, kind of. You have the lead actor giving his all, but he doesn't have a good enough script to work with here. It's a shame, too, because the movie looks so incredible. Those visuals in this movie look so amazing, and it's just like, you wish that they could have been used for something in a really good movie. With this, it's a nice, stylish-looking movie. I just think it doesn't really have a good idea of what kind of a movie it wanted to be. It felt like a movie that had so much ambition going into it, everywhere else except for the script, and this is what the end result is by the time we get done with it. It's just like, it's a really great looking movie, just a really bad script and not very good characters to work with. It's unfortunate too, because Barry Levinson was on a roll at this point. He hadn't made a really bad movie, and even his worst movies that he made, like Tin Men, it wasn't really a bad movie. It just wasn't as good as his other works. But this is the first one where I really think he missed the ball on it big time. And for Robin Williams, too, this was a big misfire for him. And it's a shame because this movie has so much promise, and like I said, the visuals look so impressive. It just doesn't have anything to go with it on story or character-wise. It's just kind of there. It's just nothing really all that exciting about it, which is a shame because, like I said, the ambition is there, just not the execution. And that's pretty much all I got to say about Toys. It's kind of like Forever Young in a way. So much potential there. You see it in brief flashes, but there's just nothing there in the end. So.
What's going on? You got a jumper up there. Looks like he's going to do it.
This is Leslie Parks for Channel 8 News. We've just arrived downtown at 4th and Main, where a man has gone out onto the ledge of a building, apparently despondent about his mother, and remains there still.
Hey, kid. Hey, you don't tell me what to do, though. You stay right there. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. No. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. You stay away from me.
You young man.
Oh, no.
Because I know I'm not your mother, but I am a mother, and I was just thinking you could talk to me if that's all right.
This is serious up here. Yeah, hey, let it talk. What do you want?
I just want you to know that young man next to you is my son.
Mom, stay out of this, okay?
And God knows, he and I have had our difficulties over the years. You see, he was very small for his age, and I made him this adorable little wig and a beautiful little dress.
You had to wear a wig and a pretty little dress?
Is he adorable?
I thought I had things bad.
Not close.
Mom!
Stop,
Oh, please, you don't have anything I haven't seen before.
Mom, would you turn around, please?
or my mom
Both of you?
will shoot.
Your mom witnessed a murder. You witnessed a murder?
Get it! We're gonna nail those turkeys.
Oh, come on, Gwen. She's supposed to go back Monday.
Watch out!
Look, you can already see he's going to have very nice equipment.
Would you like me to drive?
No!
It's going to be so clean and shiny. He's going to have the cleanest gun at the precinct.
I'd say she loves you, Joe.
No, my son's is much bigger.
Mom!
Sylvester Stallone
Put a machine gun off the back of a van?
and Estelle Getty.
I wanted it to be a surprise.
It is!
Stop.
I'm on mobile, shoot!
By the way, girls, Joe is still single.
Officer, secure that megaphone! Excuse me, I think I'm ready to go back in now.
Joe, wait to the crowd.
Please, make her stop! Tell you, that guy needs help. You got a jumper up there, looks like he's gonna do it.
He's a very nice boy, a little...
Okay, that trailer alone should pretty much tell you that they knew that this was a bad movie. I mean, you usually say for a trailer you usually use your best material that you have. If that's the best material that they had in that movie, you knew right off the bat this was going to be a disaster. I mean, let's start with how this movie came to be. Sylvester Stallone agreed to this because there was a rumbling that Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to star in it. And later on down the road, it was revealed that Schwarzenegger confirmed the rumor, but he knew the script was really bad and had publicly faked interest in starring in it for producers to lure Sylvester Stallone. And it's important to note that both Schwarzenegger and Stallone had a rivalry going on for like 20 years between the 1970s when their career started to the 1990s when their career started to fade away. And this was the result of that. And as you know now, their rivalry has since been reconciled, and these two have worked off each other in the past. But Yeah, that's pretty hilarious of Schwarzenegger to do that to Stallone, and Stallone actually buying into it. I mean, he had to have looked at the script. Stallone had to have looked at the script and said, Schwarzenegger really wanted to do this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Stallone wasn't really that desperate for parts at that point, but this was just one of those things where I really think he just took it because he knew that Schwarzenegger was going to take it. But in the reality, Schwarzenegger wanted nothing to do with it. Just said, "Hey, Stallone, take it." I think he did the same thing to Dwayne Johnson when he did The Tooth Fairy. I think that was another movie that Schwarzenegger was intended to star in, and then he threw that script away. And I guess Dwayne Johnson was brought in to do that movie later on down the road. But yeah, the movie itself is really bad. Like this is the comedy that I think a lot of people looked at Oscar and thought it was going to be like. But Oscar was a much funnier movie, a much more clever movie with Stallone in it. And this is just garbage. This is just garbage on all sorts of levels. Like the comedy is bad, the writing is terrible. They waste the great Alan Silvestri on a bad score. It's a horrible movie. It's a really, really bad movie, and just on so many levels. Like, an idea like this could work if the script was actually good, but the script was there was no way that the script that they actually shot was ever going to be good, regardless of who you got to star in it. Could have been Stallone, could have been Schwarzenegger, but either way, it wouldn't have worked on any level whatsoever. It's just, I mean, nothing more to say about this one. This is just a bad, bad movie, and.
Sorry to disturb you at this hour, but I have something you want. A new TV?
It broadcast programs no one had ever seen.
Wednesday at 9, don't miss an all-new episode of The Silencer of the Lambs.
Then one night, Roy and Helen Nemo got sucked in and discovered that hell is one TV show after another.
Let's welcome our new contestants, Roy and Helen Nemo!
And they're starring in every show.
I've watched enough wrestling to know one thing. It's all fake. No one ever gets it.
Not fake. Not fake.
So the object, Mr. Pierce, is to kill them before they reach the end.
Oh my God, we're cartoons.
I am not alone. I'm Helen Nabel. I have 2 beautiful children. Mom?
Our parents are trapped in television.
Now, they can't go home. They can only switch channels.
Where'd he go? Hey, lady, watch out!
And every series is a nightmare. That's
entertainment.
Because Satan is the sponsor.
Okay, everybody, head spins. Very good, very nice.
Well, time to rock and roll.
Star me up. You got to star me up. Star me up.
Don't miss this comedy from hell.
Party time! It's the list!
That'll save her.
Stay tuned.
Where have you been?
So here we have another one of those comedies that used to be on HBO a lot back in the 1990s. I mean, you really couldn't go. I think there were a couple of days. There were days where there was a stretch where every single day you would at least see this movie one time on TV throughout much of the 90s. I mean, it was all over the place. And I found myself watching it several times back then. But even then, I realized that the movie never really reaches that potential that this has here. You have a really good idea here, a dark satirical comedy with an interesting premise and concept behind it, but because it's PG, we're going to put zero effort into the parodies themselves. I mean, really, the parodies in this are not really all that funny, and they're just kind of lazy, too, like The Silencer of the Lambs, 3 Men and Rosemary's Baby, Unmarried with Children, Northern Overexposure, Saturday Night Dead. I mean, you got to come up with some better jokes like that. I mean, there are a couple of jokes here that do work. I like that Three's Company parody they did in the trailer. And then you got Chuck Jones to do a really good animated sequence there. And it is it's a legitimately funny sequence. I mean, those are the 2 moments where I really thought, okay, this is where you're using a lot of that potential. And I mean, John Ritter and Pam Dauber are doing their best here, and I think Jeffrey Jones can play a decent bad guy, but overall, the movie just doesn't work, and I think it was because Tim Burton was attached to do this at one point, but instead he decided to do Batman Returns, and really, I think Tim Burton probably could have made this work, especially with, at that point in his career, he had just come out with Scissorhands, but instead he decided to do Batman Returns, which financially probably worked out better for him, but I mean, overall, as it stands, Stay Tuned is just kind of a very interesting concept, but the overall film itself really has nothing to work with at the end. A couple of decent scenes, a couple of good scenes for the cast, working with the material given to them. The comedy is very mediocre. The lack of a good narrative to work with, it makes this movie kind of fall apart pretty quickly. It never takes the chances that I think it really should have taken, and really, it just didn't work as a film for me. So it's a movie that's a movie that just didn't work, so stay tuned. That's pretty much all I got to say about that one.
Hey, it's present-day me, and you're probably wondering, why aren't you showing a clip from this episode where you're talking about frozen assets? Well, there is no clip with me talking about frozen assets because when I did my research on the year of 1992 on Box Office Mojo, this movie was not on any list whatsoever. It was not on any of the release dates, even though this came out on October 23rd of 1992. And, yeah, I never talked about it on the show, but I'm going to talk about it now because it is indeed the worst movie of 1992. And the story of this film, if you don't know already, which most of you probably have not because you probably have never heard of this movie before, but the story is that you have Corbin Burnson playing Zach Shepard, an executive at a Los Angeles bank who gets a new job at a bank in Oregon, which is revealed to be a sperm bank. And he has a love interest played by Shelley Long, and there's this contest going on here where they get like $100,000 for a prize, and the men abstain themselves from having sex to save themselves for donations, while a local brothel protests the sperm bank for having ruined its business, and it's really fucking stupid, man. Like, this is a terrible movie. I mean, the trailer, I didn't get to show the trailer on here, but the trailer is stupid enough because the dude Corbin Burnson can't even notice when he goes into the bank that it actually says sperm bank on it. It literally says it on the doors, and yet he's perplexed when he goes in there and he realizes, oh no, I'm in a sperm bank. Like, I said it was like a sitcom plot, but no, a sitcom would be smarter than this. But like, this movie is ridiculously bad, and you probably remember when Siskel and Ebert reviewed this movie, and yeah, this was a film that they would rather talk about the things that they will do after they die for having to sit through this movie, like Roger was just like, I want like Zephyr-like venues and a big car, that type of stuff. Like, that's how bad this movie is. When Box Office Mojo can't even find a date to put this on here, they put the most obscure movies on their list for what was the top grossing movies at the box office, and yet this film is so bad that they don't even bother putting it. I mean, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. I mean, the film is just such a mess of a film. Like, it's an unfunny comedy. It's not even good enough to be something that could be seen as like a TV pilot or something like that. I mean, there's just nothing to say about this movie. It's a terrible film. Yeah, I could go into more detail about this, and I could show you the trailer, but honestly, I'm saving yourself from the stupidity. If you want to go ahead and check it out for yourself, it's available to watch free on YouTube, so you have been warned. But Frozen Assets, one of the worst comedies ever made, easily the worst movie of 1992.